Yes, boss.
Okay, we should be good.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. This public meeting has been called to satisfy the requirements of the Planning Act and Council bylaws. Notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last assessment roll within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject properties. In addition, a public notice sign has been posted on the lands. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should an application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The process for this afternoon, the purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. Please state your name and mailing address for the record. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions will be determined by the committee following the public portion of this hearing. All interested parties are invited to be present. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and to any other persons who files a written request. There are colored forms for this purpose, which are available on the back table. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the local appeal body within 20 days of the decision for minor variances and within 20 days of the mailing of the decision for consent applications. Now I'll introduce the panel. To the far left is Mr. Don Cook. To my immediate left is Mr. Brian DeMyrtle. To my right is the Deputy Clerk, Holly Wilford. And to my far right is the Secretary and Treasurer, Nancy Bizzato, and I'm the Chair, James Federico. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications being considered at this hearing?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
And I have none. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, there are not.
Okay. Okay, so there's nobody for there. With that said, let's get on to our agenda. Put those backwards. And let's call A21-2018P Neil D. Jennings and Joanne Jennings. Are the representatives? You're the representatives. Have a seat in that side of the table there. And if you could state your name for the record.
Neil Jennings, 725 Church Street, Pelham.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Will the Secretary Treasurer please read the correspondence on this?
Yes. Committee of Adjustment hearing, Tuesday, December 4th, 2018. Application for minor variance. File A21/2018P, Neil and Joanne Jennings. Excerpts from Planning Report. The subject land is located on the east side of Church Street, lying north of Sumbler Road, known municipally as 725 Church Street in the town of Pelham. The minor variance application requests relief from Section 7.7A, max lot coverage, to allow a maximum accessory building lot coverage of 2.6%, whereas 1% is allowed, and Section 7.7D, max accessory building height, to allow a maximum accessory building height of 4.3 meters, whereas 3.7 meters is allowed. To date, the following comments have been received. Fire Department, no comments. Building Department, all necessary permits are required prior to construction commencing. Public Works, no comments. Niagara Region Planning and Development Services, no comments. Public, no comments have been received. Is the variance minor in nature? Increasing the accessory building lot coverage to 2.6% is minor overall given the ample amount of landscaped open space available on the property, which allows for stormwater penetration use and amenity area. Increasing the accessory building height to 4.3 meters is minor given the rural context, adequate distant buffers, the accessory building from nearby neighbors. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land? The variance request to increase the accessory building height and lot coverage is desirable for the property, as it allows for enhanced storage and use of the facility. The proposed design of the detached garage makes use of the existing L-shaped driveway by having the vehicle store face south. No adverse impacts are anticipated on surrounding lands. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? The proposed use of a building accessory to a single detached house is permitted in the good general agricultural designation of the official plan, and the policy does permit uses which are compatible with agriculture. The increase in accessory building height will not compromise the objective of the official plan. Increasing the accessory building height lot coverage will not impede the private servicing capacity of the septic system and does not raise any issues with the official plan policies. The variances are appropriate given the site's rural context and meet the general intent of the town official plan policies. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? The size of the proposed accessory building height to 4.3 meters is appropriate given the rural context. Ample amount of open space is available on the site for the amenity area and storm drainage. Given this, both variances will not adversely impact the agricultural character of the area or the surrounding countryside and will not compromise the zoning bylaw intent. Town planning staff is of the opinion that increasing the accessory building height and lot coverage will not negatively impact any neighboring properties, as significant distance buffers the development from existing residential uses and storm runoff shall be contained on site. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and conforms to the general intent of the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. The following conditions are suggested: a demolition permit to be obtained prior to the removal of the existing accessory building, and that all necessary building permits must be obtained prior to construction commencing.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
No, that's all covered, thanks.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this application? Twice sold. Okay. Members, do we have any questions or comments?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
I have none, Mr. Chairman, and with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I'd move that the variances requested under file A21, 2018 be granted with the following reasons. The variance is minor in nature. The variances follow the intent of the zoning bylaw in this rural area. The intent of the official plan is maintained. Fourthly, that the proposal is desirable for the property as it allows for enhanced storage and use of the facility. Fifth, that the application is approved without prejudice for any other application in the town of Pelham. No objections have been received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners. And the Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with them with the variance report prepared by our planning department. I would move granted with the following conditions: that all necessary building permits must be obtained prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the town of Pelham chief building official. And secondly, you obtain the necessary demolition permit for the existing shed, such as it is, also to the satisfaction of the chief building official.
Seconder?
I second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. With that, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor? Okay. The application is granted subject to the conditions. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Committee.
From there, we will call file A23 28P Michael Iliazorek. Please state your name for the record.
Mike Zorick.
Perfect. Okay. And Madam Deputy Clerk, if you could read the correspondence.
Application for minor variance. File A23/2018P, Michael Zorek. Excerpts from planning report. The subject land is located on the southeast corner of Bacon Lane and Mary Lee Street, known municipally as 46 Bacon Lane, in the town of Pelham. The minor variance application requests relief from Section 13.2C, maximum lot coverage, to permit a lot coverage of 43.6%, whereas 40% is allowed under a previous minor variance approval, file A14/2018P. To date, the following comments have been received. Fire Department, no comments. Building Department, all necessary permits are required prior to construction commencing. Public Works, no comments. Public, no comments have been received. Is the variance minor in nature? Permitting an overall maximum lot coverage increase to 43.6% is minor in nature considering the surrounding neighborhood context, which consists of both large and small lot single detached residences with varying degrees of lot coverage. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land? Increasing the maximum lot coverage to 43.6% is desirable for the use of the land because it allows for more design flexibility in sitting a bungalow-style dwelling and/or small accessory buildings, while still providing acceptable rear yard amenity space. The lots are large enough to have generous outdoor amenity areas and still meet the setback requirements. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Permitting an overall maximum lot coverage increase to 43.6% maintains the general intent of the official plan because it will promote infill housing and help develop the land more efficiently. Also, in a practical form, the future dwelling can be built either as a bungalow or two-story house with more freedom in allowable building footprint designs, which depends on the maximum lot coverage. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? The proposed lot coverage exceedance is more than what is permitted by bylaw, but still leaves adequate room for open space intentions, distance between buildings, and stormwater runoff without unduly affecting any neighbors. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The subject application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and complies with the general intent of the town official plan and zoning bylaw. The following conditions are suggested: that all necessary building permits must be obtained prior to construction.
Mr. Zork, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment? Thank you. Members, do we have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I only have one question. I know we looked at this property sometime last year under previous variance, and I understand that you're increasing the lot coverage by 3%. Is this going to impact at all upon the revised drainage plan that was required to be prepared for the previous variance?
I don't believe it will. I'm just looking to construct a 3-bedroom bungalow. And to be honest, when I was designing the home, the variance is in regards to the rear covered porch. And just design-wise, when you add, it's basically the roof, right? And I'm just not looking to encroach in any rear yards or side yards or anything. It's just that it's just lot coverage, and it literally has to deal with the rear porch, just because there won't be enough room around a table
Okay,
and
so
chairs.
really, we're not worrying about the side yard so much, where the drainage in that particular area is going to
Yeah,
be a problem,
yeah.
because the homes are going to be so close together. Okay, with that, Mr. Chairman, I have, my question has been answered.
Okay.
I have no questions, Mr. Chair, and I'm ready to
Okay.
bring forth a motion here.
If we have no further questions, I'll happily hear a motion.
Do you have any? Through you, Mr. Chair, do you have any more questions?
No, that's,
it?
my only question is usually on drainage, and that's,
Yeah, I know. At that point, I state that file 823 be granted because the variance is minor in nature as far as I'm concerned. The general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw is still maintained, and with the adequate room for the open space intentions for all of the homes actually along that area, in my estimation, and because of the distance between the buildings. And the stormwater runoff won't be unduly affected for any of the neighbors there. The intent of the official plan is maintained, as the proposal will promote infill housing and develop the land more efficiently. And it allows for more design flexibility with that, particularly with the three-bedroom bungalow. The application is approved without prejudice to any of the other applications for the town of Pelham, and we haven't received any objections from commenting agencies or the budding property owners. And to let you know that we also, as a committee of adjustment, have considered all the written and oral responses and comments and that agree with the minor variance report analysis. And there is, of course, the one condition that all necessary building permits be obtained prior to any construction, to the satisfaction of the town of Pelham Chief Building Officer, or official, I should say.
Thank you, Mr. DeRoto. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with that, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favor? Okay, your application is granted.
Good luck.
Moving along, we'll call file A24, 2018P, James Terrence Duffy. Please state your name for the record.
James Terry Duffy.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if we could have the correspondence read.
Application for minor variance. File A24/2018P, James Terry Duffy. Excerpts from planning report. The subject land is located on the east side of Cream Street, lying south of Memorial Drive, known municipally as 1285 Cream Street, in the town of Pelham. The minor variance application requests relief from Section 7.7A, max accessory lot coverage, to allow 2% lot coverage for accessory structures, whereas 1% is permitted. To date, the following comments have been received. Fire Department, no comments. Building Department, all necessary permits are required prior to construction commencing. Public Works, no comments. Niagara Region Planning and Development Services, no objections provided no living space or washrooms are installed. Public, comments have been received by Mr. and Mrs. Hassani indicating they have concerns with the lack of planting and landscaping around the proposed accessory building. 3 drawings were provided by Mr. and Mrs. Hassani as suggesting for their preference. Is the variance minor in nature? The proposed accessory lot coverage of 2% is minor overall. Despite the parcel size, the variance can accommodate with minimal impact. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land? The proposed accessory lot coverage of 2% is desirable for the use of the land given the parcel size. The relief will offer some more flexibility in terms of property usage and thus desirability. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? The proposed accessory lot coverage maintains the general intent of the official plan in that no negative impacts will be created for any natural heritage features or neighboring properties. The variance is appropriate given the site's rural context and meets the general intent of the town's official plan policies. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Increasing the maximum accessory building lot coverage maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw in that adequate open space remains, it will not bother the existing septic field, and stormwater runoff will be required to be contained on the property as per town standards. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The subject application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and complies with the general intent of the town official plan and zoning bylaw. The following conditions are suggested. that all necessary building permits must be obtained prior to construction commencing, and that no plumbing or living space be included within the accessory building.
Thank you. Mr. Duffy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I have no objection with the conditions put on the minor variance. Also, the minor variance is minor in nature, and I just want to build a double-car garage, basically something 25 by 26 or 20 by 30 in the backyard of my property, which is 135 feet wide at that point. Also, from the house to the backyard line, I believe, is close to 300 feet. Also, I think the variance is desirable for the development or use of the land, and it does maintain the general intent of the official plan, and it does maintain the general intent of the town's zoning bylaws as well. The side yards are far bigger than what is required, and so is the front and rear setbacks. I have a lot of equipment outside right now, and just with it's sort of a treed, wooded lot, so with a wood chipper and tractor and this sort of thing, I'd just like to get it all indoors.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this application? Please come forward to the podium here and state your name.
Hi, I'm Karen Collins, 562 Memorial Drive. You know where that is?
Excuse me, sorry, Karen, if you could address through the chair?
Up here.
Oh,
I would be the chair.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
I'm concerned about where it will lie in relation to my property. Is it going to be directly behind my property? Is it over to the right of the property, the back, or the left? My other concerns are lighting. Is this building going to be lit all the time? Which I don't want, because otherwise it's a very dark, natural property that I have. I can see the stars, and I don't want glaring light in front of me when I'm sitting in the backyard. The purpose of this building is as a garage, a double garage, but you'll be putting a tractor, he'll be putting a tractor and a wood chipper in there. Is there going to be elevated noise coming at it through the evening? I mean, summer is a time when I'm outside, and I don't want to be listening to a pile of noise or my friends that are over. I don't want to be disrupted in my country setting.
okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your comments. Members, do we have any questions or comments?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, does the
Oh.
applicant wish to answer some of the
Respond.
questions?
It's my fault. Okay. Mr. Duffy, do you have any response for that?
I'm not exactly sure where your house is, so I can't respond as to where.
Okay, explain where it is?
This is his.
What's the number?
The pardon me?
Okay.
What's your house number?
Okay, here.
I missed you,
562 Memorial.
562 Memorial. Okay.
I'm almost at the corner of Cream and Memorial. The large house is on the corner,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
and next to that is me.
Okay.
So through the chair, I've just circulated an aerial photograph of the property. I'll circulate it to the members as well.
Yeah, I think.
What was the number?
That's right.
562.
So,
Oh, it's 5, okay, right there.
Yep.
But, okay, there's another property. There's another property.
Yeah, there's at least one other property between you and Mr. Duffy's property. Let me show you. Oh. There's Mr. Duffy's
Yeah.
property?
And
And
that's
there's
me.
property, yeah. So
Yes.
there's one more, there's a property
another
between
lot.
you and
Yes,
Mr. Duffy's
but light
property.
travels.
And
We need to get this all through the chair.
Okay, right, sorry.
I just wanted to ask
Mr.
more
Cook?
questions.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
all.
no, and that's,
I'd like to know ahead of time.
okay. Do you have any response?
Just that I'll be using it for an accessory building, and, I mean, and when it's dark out, I'll have to use some lights. We won't be shining any lights in other people's properties. And as far as noise goes, I'll be starting a tractor to get it in and out of the property, or possibly a chainsaw or something like that, but no more than cutting a tree down or chipping a tree would make, you know, on the property.
Right.
It looks like it probably is going to be directly behind her property, but like I said, the buffer required in that area for side yard is 3 meters, and it'll be quite a bit more than that. And I think for noise, there's bylaws and things like that that cover noise, but I don't anticipate that I'll ever be making noise that late at night.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Do any of the members have any questions or comments?
I have no, Mr. Chair.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, just based on the audience member and the correspondence received, before we put this to a decision, I think part of it, for me, the fact that you're meeting all of your setbacks means quite a lot, right? If you were building a slightly smaller building, or a smaller building and meeting your lot coverage for accessory buildings, we wouldn't be here for this meeting even at all, right? So in terms of where a building gets placed on the property, those kind of things, you know, you're meeting all of that. It's not really in our discussion today because we, as the Committee of Adjustment, don't really get a say in, as long as we're inside of our setbacks, we don't really get a say in where the building positions on the property. I noticed you put your hand up. Did you have
I have some comments on this one.
Okay, absolutely. Please again state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Hassani. I live in 581 Canberra Road,
Okay,
which is adjacent to Mr. Terry Duffy.
right.
We receive a plan from the town of Pelham as well, where he's going to put his barn or whatever. His barn is right at my backyard, which is my backyard is beautiful. I sit down there in the summertime, even in the winter, because it's covered. Everything is nice. And he have enough area to put it in that part. Like he can put the garage or whatever he's doing at the back of his, either here or close to his house. Now, I would like to ask why he insist on this his garage to put it right across from my backyard of my property, and he's gonna cover everything, and that's property, it seems to be 695 square feet. And I believe this is not fair for me and my wife and my kids to look at this property all the time. And if you'd like to see it, it's here.
We tour the properties.
You have it?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've received your proposals, and
Yeah.
as I say, we
And
toured the
this one
properties
here, like,
before.
why he insists to put it here? Like even he's gonna use the tractor, as he said now, I heard it. And he's using one of his property there because I hear the noise, what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing daily, almost daily. Some machinery or something like that, I don't know. I don't have any permission to picture it or to get the noise from there, but I hear it every single day, almost.
Okay.
So why is that? I mean, that's not fair for me. So that's why I'm objecting this. And if you If you need anything, it's here. I don't mind him to put anywhere, even if he move it a little bit there, it's going to be behind my garage.
Right.
So nobody can, I don't have any objection for that. And if he wanted to put it there, close to his house, is better for him as well, but I don't want to speak on his behalf.
Really?
But this property here, like what he's doing here, that's going to affect me here and affect my family.
Right.
Okay?
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Duffy, any response?
Well, like I said, I think if I'm driving my tractor around, where I have the location of the building isn't going to make much difference as far as noise goes. I don't know about noise every day, and as far as the letter goes, just to try and ignore the part that it's going to be an eyesore. I don't want an eyesore on my property anywhere. Do as nice a job as my house is. The required side yards are 3 meters, and I'm not going to do it at 3 meters. I'm going to give him a little more. There are some. It's like I said, and it's a tree property. To put a planting strip or something like that, which was suggested, is something that really is not required. I did actually took some pictures of the backyards and how they are. If you want to look at them,
We can certainly take them in, absolutely.
just of Mr. Hassani's backyard where it meets my property. I got this one first, and you'll see that is, you can see his house in the background. And you can see that
Just to clarify for me, that's his house?
that's his house right there.
This is his house?
And this is my side yard. So if you wanna say, take a look at this, that is this line here. And I had the survey prepared as well.
So,
This is standing here taking a picture. So that would be his house here, and I was standing here taking a picture, and this is where the hedging is.
okay.
So the picture shows that there's some hedging has been planted on the back property line of Mr. Hassan. There it shows that the hedging that has been planted on the backyard of Mr. Hassani, and that's my side yard.
Yeah.
And actually, most of those plantings are on my property. But just for a visual buffer, I mean, those things will grow 20 feet tall, and by next year they'll be another foot or foot and a half high. So I don't think that there's going to be any type of visual distraction or loss of enjoyment of their backyard whatsoever.
And I agree, it would appear that if those have just been recently planted, they're not even on Mr. Hassani's property.
Well, Mr. Hassani planted them. There was we do have a bit of a dispute between the two of us regarding some.
Can I say something? There was a plan on the center line of between two property, not in his property. I have the survey with me.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassani.
Hassani, that's fine.
for that.
We're not here for that.
Yeah.
But just to say that there is a visual buffer there.
Right,
that,
already.
Even if it was at the 3 meter, which is allowed.
And I guess that's, okay. Do we have any other audience members concerned with this application? No? Okay. And I guess that was the point I was trying to make earlier is the minor variance we're here to discuss today is basically around the size of the building. As long as an applicant is within their setbacks according to the bylaw, it's not our jurisdiction to impose where a building gets built, and nor should it be necessarily. And I think the same kind of goes for all property owners, right? As long as we're meeting our setbacks, we can kind of build where we want within our own property. The second point too is that this is agricultural zoned property and has been an agricultural zoned property for quite some time, so, you know, the expectations of not having, you know, noise associated with an agricultural work or an agricultural property is kind of unrealistic as well. So with that, I'll ask the members, do we have any questions or comments?
No, just that I concur with everything you just stated, Mr. Chair.
And I concur with everything you said. Really, the variance is strictly on lot coverage, and that's what we're dealing with.
That's our jurisdiction allows.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I had moved that file A24-218, James Terrence Duffy, the variance be granted, subject to the following conditions. Firstly, that the minor variance the variance is minor in nature. Secondly, that the general purpose intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained, as the proposal leaves adequate open space. You have followed all the setbacks. Thirdly, that the intent of the official plan is maintained, as there will be no negative impacts that will be created for any natural heritage feature or neighboring properties. And I agree with that. Fourth, that the proposal is desirable for the properties that allows flexibility in terms of property usage. And you've demonstrated that by giving us ranges of where you're proposing to put the building. Fifthly, the application is approved without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. Sixth, that the Committee of Adjustment, we have considered written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act tests for a minor variance. Also, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the following conditions be imposed on this variance: that all necessary building permits be obtained prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the town of Pelham chief building official, and secondly, that no plumbing or living space be included within the accessory building, also to the satisfaction of the chief building official of the town of Pelham.
Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, and with that, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Okay, your application is granted, Mr. Duffy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready to go ahead, Mr. Chair, with your adjournment of the meeting?
Do we have
There are no minutes for approval.
no minutes, no
And
consents?
there are no consents.
In that case, yes.
I'll move we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have a seconder? Mr. DeMurdo, thank you. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.